What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video here on Peg City Hockey. I do know that you guys have probably been wondering where this video has been at since this news broke yesterday, really early on in the morning. Unfortunately, just how days go, sometimes you get busy and you just don't have the ability to create the content that you want to make properly. I thought I could make this video on my phone and get it up to you guys sooner, but it just wasn't up to the quality that I wanted it to be at, and I wanted you guys to have the proper reaction and the proper information on why I felt the way I feel, especially so strongly about what has happened with the Winnipeg Jets recently coming out with their protected list going into the NHL expansion draft for the Seattle Kraken on this coming up Wednesday. So without any further ado, let's jump in and share my thoughts on the Jets expansion list, because you guys already can tell by my tweets, if you follow me on Twitter, and also just the vibe that I've been giving in my videos for the last 3 months, I would say even longer, is that I like Dylan DeMelo. I like Dylan DeMelo a lot, and I think he's extremely valuable to the Winnipeg Jets. And don't get me wrong, I love Logan Stanley, but we got to talk about this because the Winnipeg Jets have just made one of the biggest mistakes that they have ever made in their franchise history. And I'm being dead honest when I say that, because if you genuinely think that Logan Stanley as a potential is worth more than Dylan DeMelo currently right now with 3 more years left on his contract, I think that you need to seriously evaluate your mental health, because Dylan DeMelo is without a doubt one of the greatest NHL defensemen when it comes to the defensive side of the game. If you don't believe me, you need to learn advanced stats, because advanced stats prove that this guy is the real deal. Logan Stanley, on the other hand, which we'll get into, is not even close to what the defenseman Dylan DeMelo is. Sure, his offensive numbers are abysmal when it comes to Dylan DeMelo, and don't get me wrong, I know that, and I can see when you look at Dylan DeMelo's production, if you just look at points, you think, oh, this guy is definitely replaceable. He's not. Dylan DeMelo, currently right now, has one of the best defensive WARs in the NHL with 94%. He's got one of the best even-strength defensive ratings with 90%. One of the best even-strength offensive ratings for as well with 83. His penalty kill is 71%. He's just fantastic defender. He's everything you need for a Stanley Cup winning team. If you disagree, look at all the Cup winners. They've had a guy like Dylan DeMelo, a quiet, stable defender who is reliable. Something that the Winnipeg Jets do not have. You want to know why the Jets' defense fell apart so bad in the second round against the Montreal Canadiens? Dylan DeMelo was injured in Game 1 and barely played, I think, 1 shift, if that, and we collapsed after that in royal fashion. And yet you think Dylan DeMelo is replaceable? If Dylan DeMelo was so replaceable, where did Logan Stanley come up in that series? And don't get me wrong, Logan Stanley came up huge in Game 4 and able to get those 2 goals within 3 minutes. And don't get me wrong, I thought that was huge, and definitely warrants some attention to his offensive game, because Logan Stanley definitely has more potential to be a better offensive defenseman than what Dylan DeMelo is currently at his career at 27 years old. But look. Let me show you guys what Logan Stanley's defensive stats are. Logan Stanley is abysmal defensively. Without a doubt, one of the most sheltered defensemen in the entire NHL last season, playing less than 10 minutes of ice time. Maybe I think his most games ice time, if I'm not mistaken, was 14 minutes. Never really played in the top 4, and was abysmal everywhere. Like, look at these advanced stats. Look at the stats. Just look at them. Look at that, and tell me that as a 22-year-old depth defenseman is better than what you're getting in in Dylan DeMelo. Now, don't get me wrong, Dylan DeMelo was used as a third pairing, so maybe that also affects your rating. Maybe that makes you think that, oh, he's not that great anymore because Dylan DeMelo was a third pairing guy, blah, 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 it doesn't matter, all that other stuff. Let me show you this. What this does is it takes all of the defensive stats. It compares all of how valuable the stats are, his ratings compared to other players, and takes all of that into consideration, and then values a contract just based off of advanced stats. Now, before you say anything, Dylan DeMelo is not worth this much money, without a doubt. But it shows how valuable his skills are. It helps put a price tag and just gives you an idea of how valuable he is with the skills he brings to your ice. Dylan DeMelo right now is a $3 million cap hit. His estimated WAR value is close to $8 million a season. And you think that that is a replaceable talent? Come on. Like, come on. This guy is not replaceable. If you think you can just go out and find a Dylan DeMelo, a guy who had every option in the world when it came to free agency, and chose to sign a pretty long-term deal with Winnipeg after being acquired at the deadline for depth. This guy is the only reason Josh Morrissey has looked any bit competent since we lost everyone on our blue line. This is the only reason that you guys even like Logan Stanley so much, is because he was sheltered the entire time with Dylan DeMelo, and he made Stanley look okay at times because of how good defensively DeMelo is. Dylan DeMelo is the only key to unlocking our defensive potential with what we have. If the Jets don't go out and make some big flashy signing, if we barely get any prospects jumping up, Dylan DeMelo and Josh Morrissey could be the only stable pairing we have next season. Yet you want to most likely protect Logan Stanley because you think he's young and because you want to see him in the top 4. Would you ask yourself this? Do you really want to see a top 4 pairing of Logan Stanley Stanley and Neal Pionk for next season? Do you actually want to see that? Do you know how bad defensively that would be? That would be horrid. That would be worse than putting Tyler Myers and Rasmus Ristolainen on a pair. That is just god-awful, and yet you think that that is the smart decision moving forward. Not only to the fans that think that this is the right decision, but to the management. This makes no sense to me. Absolutely none. This just shows that Scheifele has no say and grip over this organization. All he does is draft, bring in some guys, and Paul makes the rest of the decisions, or Mark, or whoever is running the boat at this point, because it seems like no one with a brain is. This makes no sense to me. None. And then on top of that, you think that, we can lose Dylan DeMelo, he's replaceable, right? If he's so replaceable, why didn't the Jets go out and trade for Vince Dunn? Well, Vince Dunn's not available. Wrong. Vince Dunn, according to the league sources, says that Armstrong attempted to move Vince Dunn, but he did not receive an offer higher than a third-round pick. A third-round pick. What are you doing, Chevy? What do you even, you should not have a job. Vince Dunn has amazing analytics. He is definitely a second-pairing guy. He's exactly what the Jets could need. And he's been linked to the Jets for the last year and a half, and yet you don't pull the trigger when you've got a guy like Andrew Copp, who most likely will not be signing. It just makes no sense to me. And this is what coming at everyone that thinks that Dylan DeMelo is replaceable. If Dylan DeMelo is replaceable, and the Jets had an opportunity to go out and potentially get Vince Dunn within the last 48 hours, and they didn't, how would you have any faith in the Jets management? How do you think they're going to find someone replaceable to Dylan DeMelo? Honestly, ask yourself that. You have Vince Dunn knocking on your door, and you say, no, thank you, we can do better than that. When you clearly can't. You clearly can't. You know why you clearly can't? You couldn't even get a better defenseman than Jordy Ben at the deadline. That was your number one. That was the guy you went with. Out of every possible depth option you could go with. Anyone. Hell, even on the Canucks, Travis Hamonic, hello. Anybody. You pick Jordy Ben. This team clearly has no idea how to value any type of defenseman. None whatsoever. You're protecting a potential AHL top-pairing defenseman, Logan Stanley, depending on how he plays next season. You're protecting that over Dylan DeMelo, a guy who signed on a great contract, who wants to play in Winnipeg, win here. His family is here. His wife just gave birth to their first child in Winnipeg. He wants to be a part of the city and franchise, and yet you're going to expose him to protect a potential decent third-pairing defenseman in Logan Stanley. Logan Stanley, just because he has size, is not going to become the next Chara, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry to awaken your deep thoughts there, but it's not going to happen. Okay, it won't. Logan Stanley is a great potential piece to keep. Don't get me wrong, I love the kid. I want to see him succeed, but not over Dylan DeMelo. What's the point of having Connor Hellebuyck, Nikolaj, Ehlers, Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler, when he's even on that horrible contract? All these guys signed up for the next 4 years, and yet you're still rather going to be betting on the future for when you can win. We want to take Scheifele at 35 years old and have him be the captain and make a cup run then? Is that when you finally want to make the finals, when Blake's already retired and Hellebuyck, who knows, could have fucked off? And also, how do you feel if you're Connor Hellebuyck, that your team is abysmal defensively and the only good defensive defenseman you have? Oh, cast him aside. We don't need him anymore. Come on. Come on, guys. It's ridiculous. And then, getting to the main cake of it right now is that you have Mason Appleton as the other big piece available for the Jets. The guy who I think that should be selected anyway because he's pretty good, but also Dylan DeMelo is analytically a gem. And you want to know why I'm so upset? Seattle's management, Ron Francis, and everyone involved over there with the GM and the current structure of their management in Seattle, they are all analytically driven. You've got one of the best analytical defensemen in the entirety just sitting there for you. And what? So you're going to make a deal with Seattle now? Oh, well, leave DeMelo available, but here, take Appleton, take this. So what are you going to do? You're going to drop back in the draft? Do I have to remind you guys in the video I just made 5 days ago about why trading with an expansion team is a bad idea? Shea Theodore you could have had at Anaheim, but instead you traded Shea Theodore to keep Vatanen and Manson. The Jets could have had Nick Suzuki at 13th, but they dropped back to keep Toby Enstrom and Marco Dano, and they selected Christian Vesalainen. Do I have to keep going on with the list, giving Marchessault away, Riley Smith away for free, and also Marchessault just leaving him there exposed? This makes no fucking sense. I'm sorry, but I'm done with this. If this was just the first time we're having an expansion draft, I can understand that. I can see where they're coming from, but this is not. You have had every team almost fucked up when it came to the last expansion draft with the pieces they gave away and overvaluing their players, and now you devalue the one guy you need defensively, and you're going to, make some side deals so that they take Appleton, another great player. So thank you for making a side deal, giving us an asset and a free freaking player. You're just handicapping yourself for the future. What is the point on drafting development and all of this stuff like that if you're not going to willing to lose guys and replace the system and try to win now? There's no point in it. You only can draft and develop and win a cup if you're willing to move out pieces and replace those pieces with other draft pieces and capital as time develops. I'm sorry, but if the only time Chevy's ever going to trade an asset is at the deadline for a rental for a Kevin Hayes or a Paul Stastny, then what are we doing anymore, ladies and gentlemen, at this point? The Jets should just fold and go back to Atlanta, and I'm serious. I'd rather have a laughingstock team in Atlanta than have a Jets team be competent with sucking and mediocrity for the next who knows how long. This is without a doubt the stupidest fucking decision I've ever seen the Jets go down. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. It baffles me to my core. And let me just tell you guys this. I am recording this right now, 11 o'clock on nights. Finally, when I had the time to go home, finally to record this video. So it's even later for you guys in Winnipeg. It's actually 1 o'clock for you in Winnipeg. So give a little perspective there. I found out about this morning. At 7 a.m. I found this stuff out, went back to bed, and had a whole day to try to stew on this, calm down, and make a proper video for you guys without me getting too angry. And this is the best result that I can give you. That's how much this infuriates me. This makes no sense. The fact that you didn't trade for Vince Dunn, the fact that you are going to now most likely make a deal to move Appleton, because let me remind you, Appleton's name has already been tied to trades rumors, according from Mike McLaren. I can't pronounce his last name because I'm raging too much, but Mike on Twitter, verified, so there you go, and he's a Winnipeg guy, says most likely they're going to try to make a deal with Seattle to incentivize them to take Appleton. So now you're going to give up an asset to make sure they already take a good young player in Appleton, a guy who, honestly, you probably should be trying to protect and doing some type of trade to do. Or you trade Appleton before all this stuff happens and get maybe a third-round pick, or you just lose him and then you expose somebody else. There's just so many better roads the Jets could have went down, and they come to this. Without a doubt, in my opinion, the Jets are the worst team out of every team in the NHL right now to handle the expansion draft, in my opinion. Without a doubt. Yeah, you can make an argument that the Leafs acquiring McCann, giving up assets to bring in him, and then expose him after is stupid, and I agree with that. But that's almost down on par with how I'm feeling. Imagine giving an analytical team one of the best analytical defensemen for free, and then if you don't want to lose him, you have to trade another asset to, God, this makes no sense. No sense. Chevy should lose his job over this. I'm sorry, but he really should. And if it's not, and if Chevy doesn't have the control for this, then what are we doing at this point? Why do we have a GM? Why do we even have a team? Fuck, Paul Maurice can just run his band of vets for the next 40 years until he's 120 years old and the team, and the earth is burnt because of global warming, and then we can finally win a championship where there's no one left? Is that what we're going to go down? I'm sick of this shit, guys. I really am. I understand Logan Stanley. And I understand if you like Logan Stanley. I do too. But you have to look at the facts. That when the facts are in front of you, this makes no sense for the future. None. If we're trying to win now, why are we betting on a young defenseman who might be good 3 years down the line? Let me ask you this. If Logan Stanley has potential, do you really think he's going to be that much better next year in his full season? Because I sure as hell don't. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this rant. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be coming with a lot of more expansion draft information and trades and whatnot going on before the draft and free agency. We've got a lot of stuff ahead of us this week, so if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe regardless of the team that you root for. Still going to say peace, love, and positivity, even though I'm full of rage right now. But with all that being said, have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the day. This is coming out early for you guys. Apologize again for not being able to get this out sooner. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Jake from Pig City Hockey, and as always, bye-bye. Have a great day, and go Jets, go. God help me, I'm going to go insane because of this team.